Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why fearful avoidance can become emotionally repressed for periods of time, and why this can then sort of turn into a volcanic eruption when you have repressed emotions for long periods, and then those feelings come out in a different way, or they come out later, or you can only repress them for so long. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to work on that proactively so that if you notice that you're in a state of repression and you notice that you're trying to disconnect from or avoid your feelings, what a healthier alternative is and how you can do this proactively so that you don't have to get to the point of having the volcanic eruption, right? And I'm not saying this in a way to take away from the fearful avoidance experience because that volcanic eruption is just the result of you being human and having a lot of feelings and not knowing how to work through those feelings or process them and speak up for your needs and set boundaries. And so all those emotions basically get stored because you're trying to fit into this image or this idea of how you think you should be behaving or what will get you love or keep you safe. And you can only go on like that for so long before it feels inauthentic or not good. And then, of course, things come out in different ways. So we're going to talk about, some of the roots, a little bit about where this comes from in the first place, and then some exercises you can do to help take care of this proactively. Before I dive into this, we still have our With You promotion going on. And this is for 3, 6, and 12-month bundles, as well as for individual courses. It is, the coupon code is With You. It's all one word. I'll put a link in the description box below, and literally it gives you access to everything. It gives you access to our 4 live calls I do with our students every week. It gives you access to our 6 attachment-based coaches run events, and their morning and evening routines, mastermind groups, all these different things, and they're on video, so you can connect with people in your area, talk to like-minded people, do the work with people in there. And then of course we have our 40 plus pre-recorded courses. They're all 3 hours or so in length. And on top of that, we have like 200 and something webinars in our webinar library. So there's a tremendous amount of content in there, huge like ecosystem of stuff. And there's a money back guarantee if you're not over the moon with everything that we're providing. We're trying to like just jam pack it with like way more value than what people pay for, so people can come in and feel really good about their opportunity to heal and to meet people and connect with like-minded people and do the deep work and understand their mind and become secure as a result of all those different things. So link is in the description box below if you want to check it out. Now, let's talk about this. So fearful avoidance as a whole, they have a lot of ability as a general rule, this very enhanced ability to really notice what's going on with other people and to tune into other people's needs. Part of this is developed out of like usually their childhood or whatever relationship they were in. If it was a very long-term relationship, years of marriage or just a long-term commitment, that made them fearful avoidant, maybe because there's a lot of trauma in that or whatever it might be. So as a result of the different dynamics you might have gone through that have been slightly traumatic or on the continuum of being more severely traumatic, you basically develop hypervigilance. You develop a very strong ability to try to predict people's behaviors, moods. You notice changes in patterns, emotions, because you had to figure that out in order to adapt to whatever relationship you were in or household you grew up in order to basically stay safe. And as a result of this, you become really good at meeting other people's needs. So if you're going through life and you are able to like meet other people's needs and show up and take care of people's needs, and you're able to know them like this because you're so attuned and so hypervigilant and so easily pick up on what's going on with other people, then the other thing that happens is sometimes you get out of relationship with yourself. You kind of disconnect to your own feelings and needs because we can't simultaneously be hyper attuned to somebody else and to ourselves. It's not possible. We can only do one at a time. And often what will happen is if fearful avoidants are busy, they're around people a lot, and they haven't developed their own ability and practice programming in their own ability to check in with themselves, see how they're feeling, check in with what their own needs are, know what their boundaries are in real time because they're tuned into self, and express those boundaries if they feel like they're violated. What can happen is if you're around people so much, you can be really good at meeting other people's needs. You're focused there. And then you feel like your needs are being ignored, repressed. And here's the interesting thing. Conflict is born of perceived imbalance. So whenever we perceive an imbalance between ourselves and somebody else, This is going to create conflict. So what I want you to notice is that when we did the DA version of this video yesterday, and you can check it out if you're curious, dismissive avoidance can kind of like pervasively repress their feelings. Fearful avoidance can't. And the reason for this is because there's that added layer of conflict, because DAs, when they're feeling like their needs aren't met, they just retract and they can shut people out and they go meet their own needs. Fearful avoidance, that's not usually how they operate. They keep meeting other people's needs and it keeps growing that imbalance of conflict. AKA, you can think of it as like all the molten lava, like building up, waiting to pour out of a volcano. And so this is why we'll often see fearful avoidants become more explosive or volatile in terms of the way they express themselves, because they'll hit this breaking point of being so far out of connection to self and their own needs, and so far, repressed with their feelings, that then when somebody else, just eventually they're basically going to hit a breaking point. When somebody else asks for something, when somebody else doesn't meet a need, or it doesn't show up for them in a certain way. And so herein lies the root causes for why FAs can experience more emotional volatility than other attachment styles. It's not the only one, but it's one of the two major ones. The other one is the program stories that you tell yourself, right? Based on the imprints you have, these deep beliefs of I will be betrayed, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, these sorts of things. Whenever they're activated, of course, we're going to have more emotional volatility. The more trauma we have, the more activations we're likely to have, because the more we've been imprinted from past experiences. I won't get into all of that right now. So here's what you can do. Number one, if you want to work on this so that you don't repress emotions and they come out in a painful way, or in a way that causes like more detriment to relationships, and then to relationship to self, because then you guilt yourself after and you feel badly and you shame yourself and all these different things. And then you feel like you should go back to people pleasing, and then you get into that vicious cycle, right? So what you really want to be able to do is you want to be able to have proactive habits to tune into yourself. And that emotional repression will be a coping mechanism at times to help you keep tuning into others, to get the love or to stay safe. But you have to have an active habit to tune into yourself so that you can take yourself into consideration equally to the way you're considering others. This is the remedy. It's, can you treat yourself equally to the people around you? If you can, and if you can express so that people can see you and hear you and know you and what your needs are, you're not going to have these volcanic eruptions. You can have the stories and those can come out. And then of course you can just work to reprogram those. But this is going to be a huge, like, you're going to take like a huge part of the root cause for why this happens in the first place, and you're going to wipe it out. So how do we do this? Well, number one, you want to have like a check-in throughout the day. You want to have some kind of like alarm on your phone, something that you have that's like some kind of habitual check-in. And when you have this alarm go off, or this reminder, or whatever it is, you want to ask yourself, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? And what do I need? And even if you're feeling good, you're like, okay, how am I feeling? Good. Why? Oh, because I had a great emotional conversation with somebody that was nice and vulnerable. Great. Now I know that fills me up. Now I know that that is part of what fills my tank and makes me feel good. And so you want to have this like whole awareness of like, not just like what makes me feel bad, but what makes me feel good. And you start to know yourself through this process. And when you are tuned into yourself and when you know yourself, well, guess what? You have a much easier time taking yourself into consideration. So this is really important. And then secondarily, if we're dealing with like a little bit more chronic, like maybe your FA leaning DA, a little more chronic emotional repression, the other thing that you can do is you can sit down and you can practice in sort of like a meditative type practice. Sit down and think of times where you felt lots of emotion, good emotions, not so good emotions, anger, frustration, peace, joy. Okay. So you can do it on both sides, and sit down and think of the memories where you felt that way. And the memories are going to bring up thoughts and perceptions, and that's going to trigger emotions. And emotions are just sensations in our body. They are the reflection of the mind in the body. So what you can do is sit down, notice the emotions that come up for you, and observe those emotions, and observe what are they? Emotions are just literally, you have a thought, it triggers a somatic sensation. That's it, a sensation in your body. So when you have that thought or that perception from that memory, let's say it's about somebody betraying you and it made you angry. Maybe it was a coworker telling on you at work for something that a mistake you made, and you thought they should have come to you first and talked to you, or whatever it might be. And maybe you're like, oh, that made me feel angry. And so you sit and you have to get in touch with anger. Okay, so you sit, close your eyes, so you get rid of all other sensory information, and you notice, when I feel angry, what do I feel? Ooh, I feel this like heat in my stomach, my chest, my shoulders, my arms. And you can tune into what those sensations are for you. And from in doing that, you're basically reestablishing this awareness. And the more we become aware of our emotions, the more we're actually connected to our body and we feel things, the less we end up in situations where we repress for too long and then it comes out so strongly because we catch when we're feeling off more immediately. And this is really important. So I want you to recognize if you're a little disconnected from your body and your emotions and the sensations you feel in your body, you can like not know that you're mad at somebody until 2 days later. And then you're really mad because you're like, then you ruminate and you stir, or maybe 2 hours later. Or you maybe something goes on for 3 months. You think, oh, it's not a big deal. And then eventually you're like, no, this is too much. We don't want to get into that habit. That's when we become the volcanic eruption, right? That's not what you want in the situation. So the more you're tuned in and you notice something right away, maybe somebody makes you feel uncomfortable and you're tuned into your emotions. You go, ooh, that felt strange to me. That felt uncomfortable. You're tuned into your body. You catch that more quickly, and then you can address it before it becomes this buildup of a bunch of things. And then you get really upset and it becomes something that's very strong and you're not communicating effectively because you're communicating about 15 things in one situation instead of about the one thing in the one situation, which is how a securely attached person approaches situations. So hopefully this has been very educational. I've got a lot of courses about this inside of the school. Boundaries course is really good for this. Codependency and enmeshment course is really good for this. Obviously, our FA attachment style courses, emotional mastery and belief reprogramming all contain like more in-depth exercises in the different modules about these things and how to establish them and become aware. So you can always check those out. Hopefully this makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.